I'll never forget the way my hands trembled that night. There I was, standing in my own living room, dressed up like a hostess I never agreed to be, while my in-laws, Clara and Douglas Whitmore, basked in the spotlight of the anniversary party they made me host. Every guest walked in assuming I'd volunteered, like I was some picture-perfect daughter-in-law who lived only to serve. But the truth? They forced me. They dumped the entire responsibility on me while my husband, Ethan, stayed silent. I cooked, decorated, cleaned, and smiled through clenched teeth while people praised them. Not a single thank you. The humiliation cut so deep I could barely swallow. And in that exact moment, as Clara clinked her champagne glass and called me the help, I knew one thing for certain. They would regret underestimating me. Tell me honestly, what would you do if your in-laws forced you to host their big anniversary party, treating you like a servant in your own home? Comment below, share your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe. Before that humiliating night, I thought I was doing everything right. When I married Ethan Whitmore, I believed I was marrying into a loving, supportive family. I imagined holidays filled with laughter, Sunday dinners where everyone pitched in, and in-laws who would treat me like a daughter. But Clara and Douglas had very different ideas. From the very beginning, they made it clear that I wasn't good enough. Clara had a way of offering compliments that felt more like stabs. "Oh, Addison, that dress is almost flattering," she'd say with a smile that never touched her eyes. Douglas wasn't much better. He'd glance around our apartment and comment, "Ethan deserves a wife who knows how to keep things in order." I tried. God knows I tried. I cooked meals they criticized, I organized dinners where they found faults, I even tolerated Clara rearranging my kitchen as if it belonged to her. Ethan would shrug and say, "That's just how they are." The breaking point came 2 weeks before their anniversary. Clara called me, her tone sweet as honey, but sharp underneath. "Addison, since you're so good at organizing, we've decided you'll host our anniversary this year. Don't worry, we'll invite the guests. You just take care of everything else." I froze. My mind raced. It wasn't a request. It was an order. And Ethan? He didn't defend me. He just said, "It'll mean a lot to them." That was the moment I realized I wasn't a daughter-in-law to them. I was a servant. The days leading up to the anniversary felt like a slow torture. Every morning I'd wake up with a knot in my stomach, knowing that Clara would call to check in on my progress. She wanted updates on the catering, the decorations, even the color scheme, as if she were the queen and I her personal assistant. Douglas chimed in too, reminding me that presentation is everything and that I had better not embarrass the family. I felt like my life wasn't my own anymore. My apartment, my home, was suddenly their stage. The flowers were picked to match Clara's taste, the menu approved by Douglas, and the guest list filled with people I barely knew. I tried to talk to Ethan, to explain how small and humiliated I felt, but his response was a dismissive, "It's just one night, Addison. Don't make it bigger than it is." Those words cut deeper than he realized. One night? He didn't see the weeks of work, the late nights scrubbing and arranging, the tears I wiped away in silence. He didn't see me collapsing on the kitchen floor after hours of cooking because Clara didn't trust restaurants to do it right. The night of the party, I remember carrying trays of hors d'oeuvres while guests praised Clara for her impeccable taste. They clinked glasses with Douglas, congratulating them on their milestone, while I hovered in the background like hired staff. At one point, Clara laughed and said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Addison really has a knack for service, doesn't she?" The guests chuckled, and I wanted to disappear into the ground. But something inside me shifted that night. The shame and anger twisted into a quiet, burning determination. I wasn't going to let them define me as weak. Not anymore. After that party, my body moved on autopilot, but my mind was sharper than ever. While Clara and Douglas bragged to their friends about their perfect celebration, I was silently filing every detail away. I noticed how much they loved appearances, their obsession with being admired, their hunger for control. They lived for the compliments, the spotlight, the whispers about how gracious and successful they were. That was their weakness. So I stopped arguing. I stopped resisting. I became quiet. I let them think they had won. Ethan assumed I'd moved on, and his parents grew bolder, calling me for errands, expecting me to handle little family matters. They thought I was still their pawn. But behind my polite smiles, I was planning something that would sting them where it hurt most, right in the center of their perfect, polished image. They would never see it coming. Their obsession with appearances gave me the perfect weapon. Clara and Douglas were planning a charity gala with their friends, an event they bragged would cement their legacy in the community. They put me in charge of organizing, assuming I'd quietly obey, like always. And I did, at least on the surface. While Clara dictated the floral arrangements and Douglas approved the guest list, I was quietly making my own arrangements. I collected proof, screenshots of Clara's snide emails, recordings of Douglas belittling me, even text threads where they mocked their own friends behind their backs. The more they underestimated me, the more ammunition they handed me. The night of the gala arrived. The hall glittered with lights, champagne flowed, and Clara basked in admiration, clutching Douglas's arm like royalty. When it was time for speeches, I accidentally switched the presentation file with the one I had prepared. The projector lit up with their words, Clara mocking a guest's weight, Douglas laughing about squeezing donations out of rich fools. The room fell silent. Gasps echoed as slide after slide revealed their cruelty and arrogance. Faces turned cold, whispers spread, and Clara's painted smile cracked. Douglas stumbled through excuses, but no one was buying it. I stood at the back, watching their empire of reputation crumble in real time. The people they'd worked so hard to impress were walking away in disgust. For the first time, Clara looked small. Douglas looked powerless. And me? I felt the weight lift off my chest. My humiliation had finally transformed into justice. When the dust finally settled, I sat alone in my living room, the same place where I had once been forced to play hostess. Only this time, the silence didn't feel suffocating. It felt liberating. I realized something important that night. Revenge isn't always about shouting back or fighting in the open. Sometimes it's about patience, about letting people underestimate you long enough that they hand you the rope to tie their own downfall. Clara and Douglas thought they had me cornered, but all they did was reveal their obsession with control, and I simply turned it against them. Did exposing them make me cruel? Some might say yes. But I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because I needed to reclaim the dignity they stripped from me. They had laughed at my pain, reduced me to a servant, and used my silence as proof of weakness. My revenge wasn't just about hurting them, it was about proving to myself that I was stronger than they ever believed. The lesson? Never confuse silence with surrender. Sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one who's already planning how to rise again. In the weeks after the gala, everything changed. Clara and Douglas tried to salvage their reputation, but the damage was permanent. Invitations stopped coming, friends kept their distance, and even their beloved charity circle quietly cut ties. They were left with each other, and the bitter taste of humiliation. As for Ethan, our marriage faced a reckoning. For years, he had chosen silence over standing up for me. After the gala, when he saw what his parents had truly said and done, he finally realized the weight I had been carrying. For the first time, he apologized, not just with words, but with action. He started setting boundaries with them. It was late, but it mattered. I wasn't the same woman anymore. Hosting that party had made me feel invisible, but orchestrating their downfall gave me back my voice. I wasn't scared of Clara's smirk or Douglas's disapproval. I walked into rooms with my head high, knowing I had faced the worst and come out stronger. Life became quieter, simpler, but in the best way. No more endless errands, no more insults disguised as advice. Just peace. And for the first time since marrying into the Whitmores, I felt like my home truly belonged to me. Looking back, I've learned that sometimes revenge isn't about tearing others down. It's about rebuilding yourself. When Clara and Douglas forced me to host their party, they thought they were breaking me. But in reality, they were shaping the woman who would one day stand up and reclaim her power. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying them. It's about finding yourself again. So, tell me, if you were in my place, How would you have handled it? Would you have stayed silent or fought back like I did? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like mine.